I read 6 books in the month of March. I loved some of them. I hated some of them. And one of them is actually the most boring book I have ever read in my life. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lydia Kyle. I am a book reviewer, book recommender, and book lover, and this is the month of March. It is a recap of everything that I have read in March. It felt like a little bit of a slower month for me, but I think it was because I was traveling. We went to Spain for 8 days. If you guys haven't seen those travel vlogs, you should definitely go check them out. There is one where I go to a book fair in Spain, and that's actually where I picked up one of the books that I'm going to talk about today. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I would love to know if you are a new subscriber, if this is your first time on my channel, and if you're a returning subscriber, give me a shout out in the comments, like this video, and let's get started talking about all 6 of the books that I read in March. First up on the docket, we have The Will of the Many by James Islington. I was very excited about this. I was excited about this because it was inspired by Red Rising. Red Rising is my all-time favorite series. Untouchable, in my opinion. I was a little bit suspicious and I was a little bit skeptical because there were a lot of people who were saying not only is it inspired by Red Rising, it's as good as Red Rising. I'm going to say no to that one. Is it good? This is fantastic. This is a fantastic book. I am so excited for the second book to come out in November, but is it as good as Red Rising? I don't think so. I don't think these characters carry as much weight as the Red Rising characters did initially. I know this is only book 1, so definitely there's a lot of potential here, but in my opinion, the Red Rising characters just really drug us in from the first second, literally the first second we met them. And this book, I won't lie, the first half of it was a little bit rough to get through. It was a little bit boring. I was intrigued for sure. I was intrigued. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to know what was going to happen, but it didn't feel exciting to me. I wasn't on the edge of my seat. Now, that being said, about halfway through, things really picked up. I started to get more insight into what was happening with the world building and what some of the, twists and turns with the world building was. And then the last 10% of this book, really wild. I will say, in my opinion, this is kind of my last thought on this book. In my opinion, The Will of the Many reads more like a sci-fi than it does a fantasy. Like, I understand that it's set in a different world. I understand that it's, it's got those Roman Empire influences in it, and you could say that it's fantasy for sure, but to me, it read more like sci-fi. And sometimes I struggle with sci-fi because there were just some things that felt a little bit tough for me to wrap my head around. Now, I will say, if you love sci-fi, I think you're going to love this. If you love sci-fi and fantasy, I think this might be one of your new favorite books. It was definitely one of the best books that I read this month, one of the best books that I've read this year, but not as good as Red Rising. My only DNF did not finish. My only did not finish is Creatures of Chaos by Julie Hall. This was a big disappointment. And I DNF'd this very early. Okay, this was supposed to be a young adult dystopian fantasy. Okay, it had all kinds of magical, mythical creatures in it. It's your pretty standard run-of-the-mill fantasy tropes. You've got your underdog female main character, and you've got the best friend that she's in love with who doesn't know that she's in love with him, and then you've got the morally gray character that shows up and kind of shakes things up for everyone. I really wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it, especially because I love young adult books. I love a solid young adult author who can bring not only romance and tension and banter and dialogue and good world building. I love all of those things. This just wasn't it. The writing was really lacking. The tropes were so obvious that it felt like the author was overcompensating for a lack of forethought with just throwing a bunch of things into the pot. I DNF'd this very early on in the book. I knew from the very start that things were on a shaky foundation, and I just couldn't bring myself to finish it. Probably the most anticipated release in the month of March, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the newest Hunger Games book. The fact that Suzanne Collins is not only still writing Hunger Games books, but that every single one she comes out with is so so well done. The lore in this book, oh my gosh, ripped my heart out. It was so good. This is Haymitch's story. This is the story of Haymitch's games, the first quarter quell that we get to see actually happening on page, right? We hear about it from Katniss's perspective, right? When she goes into her quarter quell, right? We hear about Haymitch's, but we come to find out that pretty much everything we hear about it is just capital propaganda. We get the real story from Haymitch. It is heart-wrenching. And let me tell you, if you didn't already hate President Snow, or if Songbirds and Snakes had you thinking that maybe Coriolanus Snow wasn't that bad, he's that bad. He's that bad. He's the worst. And this book is phenomenal. This book is phenomenal. Well done, Suzanne Collins. I didn't think you had the capacity to hurt me after all of these years, and you did it again. Babel by R.F. Kuang. Rebecca Kuang. I didn't know what to expect with this. I did not know what to expect for this. For those of you who are familiar with the author, this is the author who wrote the Poppy War trilogy, okay? Phenomenal author, fantasy author. But this is Babel, an arcane history. And when I tell you this reads a little bit like a history book, that's the best way that I can describe it. Now, I liked this book. I am glad that I read this book. I think there were some really, really important things that happened in this book, even though this is considered to be historical fantasy, right? It's fantasy. There's magic. There's magical realism, right? There's some incredibly important historical things that are happening in this book that did happen, specifically colonialism and exploitation of other countries by the British Empire. There's some important stuff happening in this book. However, I will tell you, it's a little dry. It's a little boring, okay? There were times in this book where I was like, oh my gosh, this is just, there's nothing happening. There's nothing happening. And it felt frustrating at times. And yet it is so well written. I read the whole thing. And when I finished it, I put it down and I said, you know what? I'm really glad that I read this. This was a really good book, really well written. It's just not very exciting. And sometimes that's just how it is. Next up, we have Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. Listen, this one has been all over Booktok, and it's a little bit controversial because some people love it, some people hate it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. Now, here's the thing. I will say, there's some plot holes if you look too close, but the banter and the dialogue, fantastic. The storyline is great. The magic is fun. The world building is nice. Like, it was fun. I read it on the plane on the way back from Spain. I read a little bit while we were in Spain. I really liked this book. Now, if I had to compare it to anything, I would say that this is a lot like Quicksilver and For Blood and Ash, but more for the new adult age category, okay? So it's not full-blown adult romance. This is more of a new adult romance, fantasy romance. I really enjoyed it. I will definitely be reading book 2. There's a plot twist at the end that I really didn't see coming that was really, really cool and really well done, in my opinion. So I'm excited for book 2, and I think that Rachel Schneider did a great job with this book. Again, there's some plot holes if you look too quickly, and if you look too hard, you might say, oh, that doesn't add up, but frankly, it was fun. It was a good read. I enjoyed it. The best book that I read this month, Leigh Bardugo, She Never Lets Me Down. Ugh. If Leigh Bardugo writes it, I'm reading it and I'm gonna love it. This is the best book that I read this month. Leigh Bardugo, The Familiar. Obviously, my copy says El Familiar because I got this copy in Spain. We went to the book fair, which is essentially just rows of booksellers outside on the street. You can go, old books, there's art, there's all kinds of things. You guys really should go watch my episode, my vlog from that day in Spain because it is so cool. I found a copy of The Familiar. I read The Familiar before we went to Spain because it's set in Spain. It's set in Spain. It's really cool. It's a great story. This is another one that kind of falls into that category of magical realism, magical history. This had some really cool historical context about Spain that I think everyone would enjoy, even if you're not going to Spain. The story is fantastic. The romance, it lives up to everything that Leigh Bardugo does that we love so much. So good. And I will tell you right now that Centennial is one of my new favorite male main characters in a fantasy book. The Familiar, so good. I really recommend it. If you are looking for a dark academia, dark fantasy, this should be your next read. It is top tier. There you have it, you guys. I read 6 books in the month of March. Like I said, it felt like a little bit of a slow month for me, but at the end of the day, I read quite a few books, and I read some that I really enjoyed. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Come back for my next video, because my next video will be talking about what my favorite and least favorite books were for the month of March. Come back for my content. I love sharing bookish content with you guys. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. I share a lot of bookish content there as well. Let me know in the comments what your favorite review was from today, or if you've read any of the books that I talked about today and either agree or disagree. If you have any questions or want more elaboration on anything, I'm happy to do that. And here's a suggestion for a video that I think you will enjoy, book reviews that I did for the month of February. I will see you guys back next time, and thanks for following along.